Five Nights at Freddy's is a story of neglect, revenge, and tragedy. In today's video, I want to cover the most important parts of this complicated timeline, explain what my interpretation of it is, and help to set up a larger video that I will be making later this year. Remember that this is, in fact, just my personal outlook of the series based on the details we have and my current knowledge of them. It's okay to disagree with anything stated in this video. That's the beauty of FNAF's timeline in the first place. Remember to like and subscribe for plenty more Five Nights at Freddy's content, and let's begin.
Do you need a snappy delivery?
Stop. Not him. You're not.
While we don't know the exact start of FNAF's timeline, our earliest events lead me to believe that the story starts somewhere in the 60s. A young William Afton runs a small roadshow called Fredbear's Singin' Show, as evidenced by this poster seen as a collectible in Security Breach. Not much is known about this time, and we don't truly get to know much until the 1970s, with the introduction of the Murray family. Here we meet Edwin, who worked under his father for an unknown amount of years before eventually taking control of the company once his father passed. Once Edwin takes over, he begins rebranding the company to produce his inventions seen in these tapes. These include the ever-popular Cleanovac, Magic Coat Rack, and the Stay Up Latte, to name a few. Note the technology within these inventions, as they will be important later. These include voice mimic, the ability to change shape into almost anything, and even an AI that learns your patterns. The main draw of Murray's Costume Manor, better known as the MCM, was actually the animatronics. The early years of this go very well. Him and his wife Fiona, who he met when working at the factory, have a kid, and it seems like nothing can stop them. As Murray's begins to thrive, an annual event known as Fallfest is being run in town. I believe that this is where William meets his business partner, Henry. While there is no evidence of this, Fallfest is shown to be a highly important event within the series, and it makes sense to me. It seems to be some kind of showing for vendors and entertainment groups to sell their work, as evidenced by Murray having a crew there as well. The earliest Fallfest we know of is in 1970. Anyway, sometimes in the early 70s at one of these events, Henry and William meet and decide to partner up. At a later Fallfest, still in the early to mid 70s, Murray's wife attends one of these events to help the crew install something for a few days.
Ed, I hope this message reaches you as soon as you get a break. I have to go help the Fall Fest crew, just for a few days until the installation is finished. It's hard to explain. I just have this terrible feeling like I need to be there so nothing goes wrong.
This goes wrong as a fire happens at the event, and Fiona is killed as a result. Some unknown amount of time later, he begins to hear his wife in the basement of the MCM.
This is where I heard it. It's her or someone that sounds like her. Set frequency to 4625. Hello? Hello? Is anyone there? Over. Say something. It's me, Edwin. Over.
Whether this is some kind of spirit of her or something else is unknown, but we do know that it causes Edwin to create the mimic. The thought was that M1 could watch over David in place of his wife, and act as a babysitter of sorts. Meanwhile, Afton and Henry are off doing their thing, and together they open up a small family restaurant known as Fredbear's Family Diner under the new company of Fazbear Entertainment, featuring proprietary springlock technology made by Henry. The problem is that, well, these springlock suits are highly sensitive and dangerous. Since that's not a good look for your company, they go to Murray with the intention of getting better springlock suits created, along with some brand new animatronics for a new location they would like to open. Sometime during this process, tragedy struck Edwin yet again.
All this time wasted? I should have been having fun with him, playing games and teaching him how to make things. But I didn't.
Losing both his wife and his son was terrible, and he began to realize just how bad it was that he let a machine replace his wife for so long. Eventually, though, he gives in and attempts to create yet another mimic, this time with the intent of copying his son. M2, as it is known, is a failure at first. Despite Edwin's best efforts, the project was found out by an employee of his, who was already fed up with the weird way he had been acting lately. This employee leaked the project to none other than William Afton, who saw the almost endless potential of an endoskeleton that can adapt to any costume or character. Through bribing Murray's employees and sending last-minute change orders to Edwin,
I got the change order from Hen last night. None of this makes sense. I'm almost done. Why change it now?
William Afton, and to a lesser extent Henry, slowly tore down the company from the inside out. I think Henry was less involved with this, simply because Murray refers to him as Hen, which feels like a nickname he'd give if they were at least somewhat friends. During all of this, Edwin creates a machine to lock away M1's AI where he wouldn't have to listen to her. M2 also seems to finally be taking on the role of David, even playing with his plushie. That is until this happens.
Stop. Not him. You're not. Stop sounding like him.
M2, learning the violence from Edwin, decides that enough is enough and kills Edwin. In 1979, a Fazbear technician named Arnold was sent to the MCM to retrieve the mimic blueprints and endoskeleton. He goes through the factory, almost dying multiple times, before finally finding the blueprints. Instead of leaving though, he digs deeper. The events of Secret of the Mimic show us the story of Arnold freeing the Mimic and the MCM burning down. The Mimic successfully tricks Arnold into doing so, causing the true end of the Murray era.
Welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, a magical place for kids and grown-ups alike.
Sometime after the fire, Fazbear Entertainment does go back to the remains of the MCM, which they now own, and receive the unfinished prototypes of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. In 1983, according to this coin, Fazbear Entertainment opened up Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, featuring these original characters. Fredbear's is still open alongside Freddy's at the same time. Sometime in that same year, one of William's kids, who I will be referring to as CC or Crying Child, is having his birthday at Fredbear's. The problem is that he's terrified of Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, likely because he saw an employee putting on one of these Springlock suits. Across the course of 5 days, his older brother Michael plays into this and scares his little brother. On his actual birthday, CC's brother and friends decide to go too far, and as we all know, this happens. This tragic event, known as the Bite of 83, causes Fredbear's to close, and devastated, Afton comes up with a plan. He decides that Henry needs to feel what he's feeling, possibly because Henry was the one that created this suit, and he doesn't want to blame his own son, even though it was clearly his fault. One rainy night, Afton drives to Freddy's and happens to find Charlotte, Henry's daughter, locked outside the building. He kills her and drives off, leaving her body on the side of the building. Meanwhile, inside of Freddy's, an animatronic designed by Henry senses that something is wrong. The security puppet was designed to watch over his kid, but got trapped in its box. It finally gets out and weathers the storm, finding Charlie's body. It lays down next to her and shuts down from the storm. She then possesses the puppet's body, currently unknown to anyone. Later that night, Afton drives home. He stops by a bar on the way, but is denied entry. He gets home to find his wife sitting by the TV. He storms to Michael's room, only to find that he's not answering the door. Afton traverses to the backyard to find that the window had been broken and some footprints ran off into the woods. He'll be sorry when he gets back. Some time passes and Afton begins to realize something. These deaths indeed happened, but they weren't the end of these children's stories. He realizes that some way, somehow, their souls have possessed the suits which they died by. He's just not quite sure how though. He decides to do some research, and what better way to do that than to, well, kill more kids. In 1985, he stumbled upon the perfect opportunity for such an endeavor. A small birthday party is being hosted at Freddy's, and he knows just the thing to do. He throws on the old spring Bonnie suit and lures 5 kids to the back room one by one before ending their lives and stuffing them into the animatronics. Gabriel, Jeremy, Susie, Fritz, and Cassidy go on to possess the animatronics, and the massacre causes Freddy Fazbear's Pizza to be shut down. The bodies are never found, and no one gets arrested for the incident. 2 years would pass until another Freddy's would open, this one being the location seen in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Henry was in full control of the company, as there were suspicions that Afton was involved in the MCI, and he didn't want that kind of bad attention. These new robots, known as the toy animatronics, are highly advanced. They feature a ton of safety measures, where nothing like the MCI can happen ever again. Unknown to Henry though, another force is controlling them. The puppet was brought back to this location, but possessed now has the ability to influence the other animatronics. This includes some old prototypes that were never used, and ended up being left to rot in the back room. Notably absent are the originals, these guys, which presumably they're just in a warehouse somewhere. At least, that's what I think. The line between the Wizards and the originals is pretty unclear, but I mean, look at them, they're not the same animatronics, there's no way that they are. This seems all well and good, but it appears that William Afton was not yet satisfied with the research he did. One night, he sneaks into the building and steals the spring Bonnie suit, which was stored away in an unknown location. He then copies what he did originally, luring some kids and killing them. This time though, his plans are cut short and he has to flee the scene without stuffing the bodies. Not much is known about these victims, but we do know that some kind of investigation is started. The animatronic characters begin to behave sporadically, all of which adds up to get the place closed down yet again. Before its closure, one more birthday party was hosted on November 13th, 1987, which is when the bite of 87 presumably happened. We know nothing else about this event. After the closing, Afton started some more experimental plans. While sister location does not have a confirmed date, I believe it fits well right here in the timeline. In the late 80s and early 90s, William started to create new, high-tech animatronics capable of luring, capturing, and killing. To do this, he modeled his tech off of some leftover designs from Murray's Costume Manor. This results in the creation of the Funtime animatronics, which featured many different mechanisms for the purposes mentioned before. Everything was going according to plan, until one fated moment. He caught one of his own, Elizabeth Afton, who gets killed by Circus Baby. This causes the business of Circus Baby's Pizza World to cancel its opening, with the public excuse being due to gas leaks. Not wanting to scrap the plan entirely, Afton decides to rent out these animatronics to parties, rolling with the name Circus Baby's Entertainment and Rental. In 1993, Henry tried one last time to pursue his dream of running a family pizza place with animatronics. He opens a smaller Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, using the original animatronics first designed in the MCM, the same ones who were possessed by the MCI kids slaughtered years ago. This doesn't work out, and ultimately the place closes down from the lack of business and public distrust with Fazbear Entertainment at this point in the timeline. Sometime after this location's closure, Afton returns to disassemble the classics and possibly study their parts. He does this one by one: Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. Once they're all destroyed, the souls are now free, and corner him into a room. Not knowing what to do, Afton gets in the spring Bonnie suit, only to get trapped in Springlock. He's then left to rot for a long, long time. Michael Afton is now the only remaining alive member of the Afton family, besides possibly Mrs. Afton, but her whereabouts are unknown throughout the entire series. He finds out about the bunker from his father somehow. I'm assuming some kind of note Afton made before he got Springlock. Regardless, Michael goes there to discover the bunker still functioning all on its own. However, everything is not what it seems. There's a mysterious voice other than Hand Unit guiding him, which we know to be Baby or Elizabeth. Michael fixes Baby, and shortly after gets scooped. The Fun Times, now merged into Ennard, uses Michael's skin to escape the bunker. This doesn't last long as his body decays, so Ennard escapes and Michael becomes some kind of roaming skin monster. After this happens, Michael and Ennard are left to roam for quite a while. The year is now 2023, 30 years after Freddy's closes its doors, and someone comes up with an absolutely incredible idea that could never possibly go wrong. They decide to open up a horror attraction based on the now decades-old legends of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. They gather plenty of old Fazbear relics, until one day discovering something big.
But I have an even better surprise for you. You're not gonna believe this. We found one. A real one. Gotta go, man. Well, look, it's in there somewhere. I'm sure you'll see it.
Of course, when you find a bloody, rotting mascot suit, the first and most logical step is to immediately bring it into your establishment with no concerns or questions whatsoever. Michael hears about this location, and seeking revenge on his father, he decides to apply and actually gets the job. The plan is simple, just burn the whole place down. He does this, but it doesn't end his father. The years from this point forward become almost meaningless, as we don't have much of anything to determine when anything takes place. Sometime after the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 3, Henry decides that he's ready to end it all. He creates the perfect trap to lure all the remaining animatronics. One by one, the remaining animatronics of Scrap Baby, Molten Freddy, Lefty, and Scrap Trap are lured to this new pizza place and trapped in the vents. Lefty is a special case, as it was designed by Henry to specifically capture the puppet, using lullabies and other technology. Michael, of course, takes the job as night guard, and finds exactly what he's looking for. Before anyone can do much of anything, Henry gives this now iconic speech.
Connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth, if you still even remember that name, but I'm afraid you've been misinformed. You are not here to receive a gift, nor have you been called here by the individual you assume, although you have indeed been called.
The whole place burns, taking out all the remaining Fazbear Entertainment souls, along with most of the company's assets. Fazbear Entertainment closes down, and with that, Afton is sent to an eternal hell, where he relives the same night over and over, fending off the monsters that he created over his many years of terror. After the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 6, Fazbear Entertainment was no longer a corporate entity. A few random indie games, which will be important later, are made. One day, someone has the genius idea. They thought that if they could cover up the past of the company and make people forget, that they could once again profit off of these characters, which held a special place in the hearts of many. The first step is covering up the past. So they hire a game studio to develop a VR title based on the old events at Freddy's. Not only that, they take inspiration from the previously mentioned indie games. At least, that's what the public thought. The real story here is far more sinister, however. It turns out that Fazbear Entertainment hired the indie game developer to make 7 games based on the old stories of Freddy's in order to conceal and make light of what happened at those previous establishments. A game tester, known as Vanessa, starts to see some weird things within this new VR game. As it turns out, Fazbear Entertainment used old computer chips and data from, by this point, ancient company tech. Some of this tech ended up being related to the Mimic, and while the physical Endo was still nowhere to be found, this technology allowed it to take a different form. Over the course of Help Wanted, we learn that the Mimic program begins to take the role of Glitchtrap, appearing as a digital representation of William Afton in his iconic yellow rabbit suit. Vanessa attempts to remove it, scattering the code into various hidden tapes, but she is unsuccessful. Eventually, this program gets to her and makes her a reluctant follower of Glitchtrap. After the release of the VR game, Vanessa is moved to a different project. The company would like to start getting back into animatronics and sets up a delivery and rental service for them. Sound familiar? Meanwhile, the VR game is selling very well, along with merchandise including plushies, figures, and even food items. Vanessa's higher-ups begin to notice some strange search history and activity, not related to the company. They try to reach out to her and talk about it, but things don't get better. Vanessa, controlled by Glitchtrap, helps him get more power, more influence within the systems of Fazbear Entertainment. A lot of this is unclear, as most of this information comes from scrapped emails that were never used in-game, but the main point is that Vanessa helps Glitchtrap into the systems of a new establishment, the Pizzaplex. Vanessa is also influenced to create a costume of her own, later known as Vanny.
Vanny. It is very similar to Vanessa, and also Bunny. That cannot be a coincidence.
Once in control, Glitchtrap pushes Vanessa through and gets her a job as a security guard at this new location. Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex is a grand family entertainment center, and Fazbear's largest location ever. It also just so happens to have been built on top of the remains of the MCM, as well as the FNAF 6 location. What a coincidence. This will be important later. In the company's quest to play with nostalgia as much as possible, they recover more old Fazbear items. One team sent out finds something very special. Of course, I'm talking about the Mimic, the physical Mimic endoskeleton. Another major thing to note is the Mexis machine. The company begins to experiment with this technology, but it wouldn't be long until it goes too far. Some higher up in the company sends out a memo for an all-staff meeting to everyone who works at the Pizzaplex. The late night meeting was mandatory, so everyone showed up. The thing is though, this memo wasn't sent out by anyone at the company at all. It was sent out by the Mimic in order to lure the staff and kill them. This plan is successful, but the company just sweeps it under the rug. They then lock the Mimic up in the basement, but are unable to remove its influence from the digital systems of the building. Over some time, the Mimic begins to influence the animatronics as well. The biggest example we have of this happening is when Monty destroys Bonnie. I fully believe that he was Mimic or Vanny controlled when he did this, as Bonnie likely was harder to influence for whatever reason. Maybe he had higher security measures built in since he was one of the main animatronics and Monty was not. Enter Vanessa. She was excluded from the all-staff meeting and remains one of the only employees still left at the Pizzaplex. One day during a performance, the main star malfunctions on stage and has to be rebooted in safe mode. This safe mode reboot likely frees Freddy from the influence of the Mimic. A child known as Gregory hides inside of Freddy when it gets shut down. Then the events at Security Breach happen, and Gregory finds a way to free Vanessa from the influence of Glitchtrap. They escape the building, and then the company leaves it to rot and decay. The cover-up is an earthquake, but I don't believe this to actually be real. There is one more employee that we've yet to talk about, Cassie's dad. He is a Fazbear Entertainment technician, one who discovers the truth about the Mimic before the events of Security Breach. He may also likely be the Bonnie bro from the Bite of 83, but that's just speculation. There is a lot of evidence for it though. He then makes it his purpose to put an end to this horrific creation and makes a plan to end its digital influence using the Mexis machine. His plan ends up getting cut short by the Mimic, putting his soul into a staff bot, but the plan doesn't die. Between the events of Security Breach and Ruin, Cassie tells Gregory about the plans that her dad had, and Gregory gets with Vanessa to finish the job. They successfully do this, which should be the end of the story. As we all know though, it isn't. Somehow, someway, the security system put in place falters enough for the Mimic to send a message to Cassie, posing as Gregory. This distress call lures Cassie to the long-abandoned Pizzaplex, where she navigates through the ruins and shuts down the security system to, in her eyes, save Gregory. Obviously this is a trick, and she ends up shutting down the Mexis machine and freeing the Mimic. Gregory contacts her at the end of the night, helping her get to an escape elevator. His tone shifts during this ride though, and something happens.
Cassie, it's me. I think I need to explain a few things. You were never supposed to go to the Pizzaplex. That thing in the sinkhole tricked you. I really don't know what it is, but it's been trapped down here a really long time. The Mexis security program was designed to keep it hidden, but you shut down the security, and now it's free. It's not your fault. I know you did it for me, to save me, but we can't risk being followed. I'm sorry.
Gregory? No!
That currently, as of the making of this video, is my full interpretation of the entire Five Nights at Freddy's timeline. I'm using this video as a starting point for a much larger project I would like to make later this year. That larger video I'm talking about will be a cinematic telling of said timeline, with many animated scenes and a more narrative rather than explanatory style to it. It will easily be my biggest project I've ever worked on, and today's video acts as a good setup for that one. One more thing, I have a Patreon now. If you like my content in videos and want to support the channel a lot more than just watching, this is the best way that you can currently do that. I'm offering a ton of perks over there for just $3 a month, like behind the scenes updates, the ability to decide on future videos, and a ton more stuff. There is a welcome post over there that goes over everything if you're interested. I would appreciate it if you at least consider checking it out, because the more support that I get over there, the more bigger, better videos that I can make on here, because it's more consistent than YouTube ad revenue is. So thank you for considering. With that, we get to the end of another video. Remember that this video is not the end-all be-all to FNAF lore, and I didn't make it with that intention. It was just my interpretation based on what I currently know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye, superstars.